I am Darth Paradox, and this is my first report regarding the Slithan incident. The goal of this report is to inform every single member of the Brew of Research about what we are fighting, why we are fighting it, and what events led us to doing so. For that exact reason, this report can be viewed even with the lowest security clearance. To provide you with a sufficient understanding of our current situation, we will have to go back to before the crisis began. It all started with my ward, Duke Nyas, a young pure-blood girl of the Nyas bloodline. My bloodline. For reasons I shall not elaborate on in this report, she was brought up in an orphanage on the planet Relic, and was later drafted into the Relic Sith Academy. I found her there 2 years ago, and took her under my wing. She remained with me for a time, but it soon grew evident that she was not fit for life on the front lines. Having noticed her sharp mind, I sent her to the Brew of Research as a gesture to their leader. From what I have gathered, Jurg's eager and uncertain nature led her to seek the favor of Eresh Kigal. Apparently, she wanted to impress our mistress and become her apprentice. Ultimately, it was this desire that led her down a path which eventually resulted in great peril for herself and the Brew as a whole. Among the cabals of illegal Sith artifact collectors, rumors had surfaced of the long-lost holojournal of Darth Slithan, a dreaded Sith alchemist that served under Revan and Malak during the Jedi Civil War. Duke caught wind of these rumors and saw an opportunity to prove her worth. She managed to convince the Brew of the importance of her discovery, and soon found herself leading a raid to Alderaan. The team were to assault the estate of the Dark Jedi Devi Galdus, who had won the auction on Slithan's journal. Ultimately, the team managed to recover the journal, but Galdus was nowhere to be found. From this journal, Duke learned that Slithan had been on Terrace when the city planet was reduced to ruins by Darth Malak's bombardment. If his infamous research was anywhere to be found, this would be the place. Over the course of a week, an expedition to the Rakghoul-infested world was planned. Upon arriving, they soon learned that Devi Galdus had arrived ahead of them, bringing a small mercenary force. Not having anticipated this kind of resistance, the Brew expedition forces had to retort to guerrilla tactics to fight their opponents. Fortunately, the Dark Jedi had next to no interest in the Brew, but rather sought to recover Slithan's research so that he could sell it. The Brew entered a race against Galdus, trying to track Slithan's movements by accessing what remained of old records from a time before Terrage had been reduced to an overgrown wilderness. Through his own deep understanding of the craft, he sought to enhance the plague and bend it to his will. To accomplish this, he was willing to resort to extreme measures, going as far as using his own apprentices as test subjects, in order to create sentient and force-sensitive monsters. Through the records, the Brew learned that Slithan had headed down into the Undercity shortly before the bombardment, and thus they endeavored to follow him. The team ventured into the dark tunnels, fighting Rakghouls as they went. Eventually, they managed to locate a sealed-off area which they entered, Slithan's lab. Within the lab, they found a terminal containing the research as well as Devi Galdus's limp body. Something had knocked the Dark Jedi unconscious. Before the team could prepare themselves, the spirit of Darth Slithan appeared. They tried reasoning with the ghost, but to no avail. Slithan seized Galdus and injected him with some alchemical mixture. The Dark Jedi shrieked and turned into a force-sensitive Rakghoul monster. On Slithan's command, the monster charged the team, striking at them with its uncontrolled power. The fight was intense, but the Brew came out on top. With the research in hand, they fled the lab and the Undercity, boarding a shuttle and leaving Terrace behind. Duke thought they had won. They had managed to recover the research, and the Dark Jedi was dead. However, the research was not all the expedition brought home. Sealed within the foolish Mandalorian Kuival, Slithan's spirit left Terrace together with the team. It would be an understatement to say that Ereshkigal was displeased once Slithan's presence was discovered. Security measures was taken to keep the ghost in check should it manage to completely take over its willing host. Despite this, everyone recognized it as being a temporary solution. The answer presented itself in the form of the Cathar slave Ishia, whom you should all now recognize as a powerful Sith sorcerer. Ishia proposed a binding ritual, which would forcefully extract Slithan from the Mandalorian and bind him to a more stable host. The Brew agreed that such a ritual should be performed, but the slave was simply not trusted with such power, a fatal error which is only now being remedied. In the end, Duke's desire to prove herself led the foolish child to volunteering. The Brew reluctantly accepted her offer, persuaded by the fact that none had been able to make sense of Slithan's research as of yet. Perhaps with the spirit bound to her, Duke would be able to. Thus, the stage for our current calamity was set. Ishia taught Duke how to perform the ritual, whilst others attempted to help the girl prepare mentally for the struggle with Slithan. When the hour of stupidity finally dawned, the Brew gathered upon a plateau in the wilderness of Dromongars. Here, Duke led 4 other Sith in a ritual that would leave a permanent mark on the place. In the end, Slithan was extracted from the Mandalorian and bound to the girl. Duke fainted and went into a coma that lasted a few days. When she woke, she seemed in control, and all was presumed well. That was also a fatal error. We now have reason to believe that Slithan fooled Duke in believing that she was in control, deceiving everyone else into believing the same. Once eyes was taken off him, he assumed control of the girl and dealt the Brew of Research one of the most deadly blows it has ever sustained, a catastrophe from which we are still struggling to recover. Think on this. Learn from this. I will cover the Ragul outbreak and the Brew's response in my next report.